Excellent. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. And I'm gonna get started on this really quickly because I typically give this talk over about an hour, so I just have 45 minutes. So I want to make sure I give the next speaker plenty of time. So I'm gonna jump right in on how to use one indicator to predict the markets. So I'll run through a disclaimer real quick before we get into the meat of the presentation. That is that trading securities and options does involve risk. Prior to buying or selling an option, an investor must receive a copy of characteristics and risks of standardized options. Investors do need a broker to trade securities and options and must meet suitability requirements. As always, past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance, and the performance figures that we show are based on actual trades, but due to the time-critical nature of trading, brokerage fees, and other activity of other subscribers, there's no guarantee that subscribers will mirror the performance of any of the figures that we show. And again, performance numbers are based on trades subscribers could enter based on our trade alerts. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk about how to use one indicator to predict markets in any time frame. So whether you're an intraday trader, a swing trader, or a position trader, this does work in all time frames. I'm going to show you the correct way to use the indicator to make money in the markets. The cool thing is no guesswork involved, so I'll show you exactly when to buy and when to sell. I'm going to show you how you can identify when momentum is shifting and a new trend is starting. And regardless of what market you trade, this does work for all markets, whether you trade stocks, futures, Forex, or options, and it works with consistency. We'll go through some live trade examples, and then I'll show you towards the end how you can get my trade signals on the house, so stick with us. So just out of curiosity, if you could put an X in the chat box if you were trading back in 2018. Just kind of curious to get a feel for how many of you guys out there were trading last year. All right, so it looks like quite a few people. It was kind of an unprecedented market environment in terms of volatility, and we saw 4 major market corrections in 2018, and that's why I ask. I have a lot of colleagues and trader friends that were unfortunately shaken out of the market. Their strategies kind of broke down during this volatile market environment that we saw last year. And so a lot of our students were fortunately able to navigate these market conditions, and the indicator that we're going to be talking about today actually predicted all 4 of the market corrections that we saw last year. So pretty cool. I mean, imagine if you could have predicted those before they happened. This one particular momentum indicator that we'll cover today actually predicted these ahead of time. But not only that, it predicted the flash crash of 2015 an entire day before it happened. If you guys were trading about 4 years ago, you'll remember that one particular day where we saw the Dow open down over 1,000 points. That was referred to as the flash crash of 2015. It also predicted the 10% correction in October 2014, an entire 2 weeks before that occurred. It also predicted the crash in July 2011, if you guys were trading back then, several days before bears began driving prices down. And it also predicted the major sell-off in 2008 when the market lost more than half its value. If you guys were trading way back then, you'll certainly remember the crash of 2008. So these are just a handful of examples of what this indicator predicted. There are many, many more, but we're going to be focusing in particular on the sell-offs of 2018. So let's take a look at that on a chart. This is a daily chart of the S&P 500, ticker SPX, and basically encompasses the time frame from January 2018 through December of 2018, so the entire year last year. And you'll see that the first correction occurred towards the end of January, end of February. So we topped out around 2,900 on the S&P, and we saw a very steep sell-off and mean reversion to the 200-day moving average over the course of about 2 weeks. Then we go into that ranging pattern that you see there, that M formation, and then we see another reversion to the 200-day moving average. This is the second correction we saw, where we topped out around 2,800 on the S&P. Then we go into this nice steady uptrend for the middle part of the year, and we get back up to the all-time highs that we saw back earlier in the year, around 2,900. And then we see another market correction in October. This time we sell off below the 200-day moving average. Then we go into that ranging pattern again. And finally, we see a major market correction in December, topping out around 2,800 on the S&P, selling off down to nearly 2,300. So this almost put us into bear market territory. So these were major market events, market sell-offs that, like I mentioned, unfortunately caused a lot of people to lose a lot of money, a lot of people to question their strategies, their systems. And so what I want you guys to imagine is if you could have predicted these ahead of time, you could have gone to cash and protected your portfolio. You could have implemented a strategy that allowed you to profit, such as buying puts, shorting futures. There's a lot of ways we could have taken advantage of these, and we'll talk about some of those in our time together today. So this is something that I typically don't do, but I do believe in providing proof of what's possible using the techniques that I'm going to teach you. So these are not hypothetical trades. These are actual real money trades from my live brokerage account with TD Ameritrade during those market corrections that we saw last year. And I actually used this one particular indicator to predict these sell-offs, and I was able to short some of the futures markets using this information. And nothing crazy here. These are all just one contract positions off the daily chart. A profit of over $8,000 in a single day with over $27,000 in open profits. Over $6,500 in a single day with over $8,000 in open profits. Here's another $6,000 day with over $8,000 in open profits. And a $5,400 day with over $5,000 in open profits, okay? So this is just a taste of what's possible with what I'm gonna teach you guys today using this indicator. Live money, again, not hypothetical. All right, so before I get into this indicator, just a little quick blurb about myself. If you haven't seen any of my teaching educations in the past, I am the Chief Investment Strategist of the Trading Profit LLC. I have over 20 years of experience trading the stock options and futures markets. I received professional training at Morgan Stanley. And again, I'm the founder of the Trading Profit, and we currently have over 17,000 members in over 100 countries across the world. And the reason that I became a professional trader and the reason that I like to trade for a living is really to achieve freedom, and not necessarily just financial freedom, but freedom to do what I enjoy with my time. So most of us, get into trading because we're lured by what seems to be easy money. And I always tell our students, trading is probably the most difficult easy money that you'll ever make. It's not an easy endeavor. It's not an easy profession. But when you can master the fundamentals of trading and attach that to good discipline and money management, it is possible to be consistent and successful over the long term. And so that's what we coach our students to achieve, so that they can spend their time doing the things that they love, whether it's travel, spending time with family, taking a vacation, quitting their job, whatever that might be. So we'll talk about how we can get you there in our session today. And I'm also the founder and creator of the TRADETRENDO Signal software, which we launched earlier this year. So I'll be talking a little bit about that with you today and how you can get access to the TRADETRENDO signals on the house. So I often get asked, how did I get started in trading? Well, for me, it all started actually with a summer school class way back in the late 80s, early 90s time frame. So at that time, we didn't have, the internet was kind of just blossoming. We didn't have access to all of the information via the internet that we have today. So for retail traders like us, we had to get our information from print publications like Investors Business Daily. And I took this particular summer school class because I was interested in the stock market but didn't know much about it. And I remember the instructor handing out a copy of Investors Business Daily to each of the students. And he instructed us to just select, we turned to the section with all the tickers and price quotes, and he instructed us just to pick out a stock from the list and write it down on a piece of paper, write down the price, and that we would be following that stock throughout the course of the summer school class. And I remember exactly what stock I picked. It was Western Digital Corporation, ticker WDC. And I remember it well because back then it was trading, somewhere around $3 or $4 a share. And it did very well over the course of the summer. And at that point, it was kind of like throwing darts at a dartboard. We didn't really use any sort of fundamental or technical analysis to select these stocks. It was more about throwing darts at a dartboard. Let's construct a portfolio of stocks and just follow them and see how they do. And when I picked Western Digital, I was really blown away about, regarding the appreciation in share price during the course of the summer. I thought, wow, this is really cool. I randomly selected this stock and it's going up. How easy was that? Well, unfortunately, it wasn't that easy because each day the instructor would have us pick out a new stock. And as I built this portfolio of stocks, I noticed that unfortunately a lot of these were, a lot more of them were going down than going up. And so by the end of the session, my portfolio was actually in the red. It was negative. So although there were some successes, there were many more failures. And so I knew there had to be something more to it than throwing darts at a dartboard or randomly selecting trades or investments. And so that really piqued my interest. And I spent the next decade or so trying to figure out how we can predict future share prices. And of course, that's not easy to do. And so then I started looking for more fundamental techniques that drive supply and demand in the markets. And that's when I stumbled across this particular indicator that does an incredible job at determining momentum shifts in the market. So by the end of our session, you're going to discover how you can use one special indicator that's available for free in any trading platform to predict market moves. And that may sound like a bold statement. We've all heard that most indicators are lagging, and frankly, out of the 100+ indicators that are out there on retail trading platforms, most of them are truly not good. They're garbage. They won't, do you a whole lot of good in live trading. A lot of them look great in hindsight, but to use an indicator effectively and consistently in live trading is a whole nother story. So this particular indicator does have predictive qualities, and I'll show you how and why. And again, it works for stocks, options, futures, and Forex. So once you learn the correct way to use this indicator, you'll never look at the markets or trading the same way again. I can promise you that. So you're going to discover why momentum is so vital to trading success, how to read momentum shifts and continuations, and I promise this will completely turn your trading around when you can time momentum shifts and trends in the market. I'll show you how to use momentum as a leading indicator, not a lagging indicator, as I just discussed. We'll talk about how momentum can predict market moves and not just be used as a lagging indicator, how to get your hands on a tool that will change your trading forever. And I say that with the utmost sincerity because I actually use this tool myself to make a living in the markets. So you're probably wondering, why do I have a bowling ball on a trading presentation? So the reason that I have a picture of a bowling ball is I want to draw an analogy for you that's related to momentum. So I'm sure many of you out there have at some point bowled in your lifetime. If you haven't, that's okay because the principles are quite predictable, and it's the reason that I share this analogy. So I want you to imagine a bowling ball and taking that ball and winding it back and rolling it down the bowling lane. And so whether you bowl or not, at some point in the past, I'm sure you can predict what's going to occur. The ball is going to roll down the alley, and it's going to continue to roll until something stops it, right? So whether you're like me and it goes in the gutter and it hits the end of the lane, or you're a good bowler and you get a strike and the pins stop the ball, something has got to stop that ball and stop the momentum of the ball once a catalyst sets it in place. So we're not going to get into a physics lesson here by any means, but I want you to keep this in mind as we discuss this particular indicator. So momentum in physics is simply the property or tendency of a moving object to continue moving. So for an object that moves in a line like a bowling ball, the momentum is the mass of the object multiplied by its velocity. So this is what's referred to as linear momentum in physics. And we can actually apply this to the markets. The real difference is the catalyst. So unlike the bowling ball, where it's our arm that is the catalyst that sets the ball in motion, in the markets, we have supply and demand. So it's buyers and sellers that act as the catalyst that set momentum in place and create trends in the market. And that's why this works in any time frame, because momentum in basically supply and demand, buying and selling pressure occurs at all times in the market. So it doesn't matter whether we're looking at a 5-minute chart or a daily chart. So keep this analogy in mind because linear momentum is a very important concept to understand. And it's the reason that this indicator we're going to look at here in just a minute it can be predictive and not lagging, because once momentum is set in place and there's buying or selling pressure, we can predict with a high degree of accuracy that that linear momentum will stay in place for a certain period of time before buyers or sellers come in and shift momentum back in the other direction. All right, so why is momentum so important in trading, and why do I use it as a basis for all of my trading strategies to make a living in the markets? Well, first we want to understand what momentum is on a fundamental level. So it measures the velocity of price changes compared to current price levels. So it's measured by continually taking price differences for a fixed time period. And generally a value above zero indicates prices are moving up, and below zero indicates prices are moving down. And it doesn't just work for crashes. So we're focusing in on the market corrections we saw in 2018, but it also works on the way up. So it does so because it measures the rate of rising and falling security prices. Okay, so this is a chart in the center of this screen that it is of the S&P 500 ETF, the SPY. And this indicator actually can pinpoint turning points in stocks, futures, and forex with astounding accuracy. And it did that on this daily chart of the SPY. So you see in the left half of the chart, we had a significant sell-off. This was actually one of the corrections that we saw last year. And we saw the reversion to the 200-day moving average. And this particular indicator actually picked up the momentum shift, the shift from excess supply to excess demand, where we see the shift from a downtrend to an uptrend, and it picked it up right near the bottom there. And then as the indicator picks up the shift in momentum, the trend reverses and goes back to the upside. So I'm going to show you how you could have actually pinpointed this here in just a second. So let's talk a little bit about momentum indicators. There's probably a couple dozen or so momentum indicators available to us in retail trading platforms. So I'm just going to go over a few of the more common ones. The first being the average directional movement index. So this one's a good one to help measure overall strength of a trend. It's often referred to as the ADX. The second is the commodity channel index. Many of you have probably heard of this one. It's often referred to as the CCI, and it measures the relation between price and normal deviations from a moving average. So these are all valuable momentum indicators. What it really comes down to is how do we implement them in a live trading environment. That's where things can get a little more challenging. And I'll show you how the one that we're going to look at today, how we can use that in a live environment, not just in hindsight. So the third is the MACD. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of this one. It reveals changes in the strength, direction, momentum, and duration of a trend in a stock's price. And lastly, but not least, we have the relative strength index, or the RSI. And this is a momentum indicator. It's often used as a overbought or oversold indicator by a lot of traders. But it basically shows us the strength or weakness of a security based on the closing prices over a specified trading period. So let's focus in on one of these in particular that really does an incredible job at predicting market momentum shifts, not just showing us lagging data, and that is the MACD. So this stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence. And I'm going to show you here in just a second how we can use it to predict market moves. So just like all of these indicators we just looked at, they can be used in many different ways. For instance, the MACD, a lot of traders will use that as a divergence indicator, looking for divergence between the indicator and stock prices. Some will use it as an overbought or oversold indicator. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I use this to predict market trends and momentum shifts. If you're not familiar with the indicator, again, it's short for Moving Average Convergence Divergence. It was developed by Gerald Appel back in the 70s, so it's been around for a long time. It stood the test of time. One reason that I really like it, so it's not something that just works briefly and then stops working. It has adaptive capabilities, so it does adapt to market conditions, which I really like about it. And I like the versatility of it. It reveals not just the momentum, but it also shows us strength, direction, and duration of a trend as well. So it's very versatile in relation to the other momentum indicators that we have available to us on the retail trading platforms. So in terms of predicting momentum shifts and trends in the market, the MACD cross is one of the best ways to do that. So a buy signal is simply generated when the MACD line crosses above the signal line, and a sell signal is generated when the MACD line crosses below the signal line. So it sounds pretty basic, right? Let's take a look at that in relation to the 4 market corrections we saw last year. So this is the same chart we looked at earlier. This is the S&P 500 over the course of 2018. It's a daily chart. And you'll see that I've got the MACD plotted at the bottom of the chart this time. And we can see that the signal line crossed below. We get the cross there at the end of January. And it almost catches that sell-off right near the top, right? Does a pretty good job at timing that sell-off that we saw in the earlier part of last year. The next cross we're going to look at, and by the way, there's obviously a lot of crosses on this chart, and certainly where these crosses occur, the slope of the cross, where they occur relative to the zero line, whether they're above or below, are all significant. We don't have enough time to get into that today, but we'll just focus on basically where these crosses are occurring in relation to these market corrections. So this one in March didn't quite get it near the top, but did a pretty decent job at letting us know and warning us ahead of time that there would be a market sell-off. The next one we're going to look at here is in October. So this one actually let us know about a week ahead of time with the signal line crossing below that there was a potential sell-off looming, and it could have warned us to go to cash, get us out of the market, or implement a bearish strategy before that October sell-off occurred. And then the last one we see, this one was below the zero line, and we see the nice job that it did there, warning us that there was going to be a potential market sell-off in December. All right, so this is how we use the MACD to predict market momentum shifts. All right, but the problem is it's a little bit difficult in live trading to see the crosses and actually use them to implement a trade in the markets. So you can see that some of them are more obvious, but where it can get confusing is when the lines are converging and they get very close together, and it can be very difficult to see the MACD crosses. So I'm going to give you guys a little trick to make the visualizing the shifts in market momentum easier, and that's using the MACD histogram. So the lines can be confusing. It's much easier to interpret the MACD histogram. So if you guys have ever used this, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's much easier than the 2-line cross. So basically, we get a sell signal when the histogram goes from green to red, and we get a buy signal when it goes from red to green. Okay, so it's really that simple. So let's take a look at that on a chart. This is a daily chart of the stock Momo, and you can see I've got the histogram plotted near the bottom. We went from red to green, telling us that momentum was shifting to the upside, and then you see that we get that nice steady uptrend after the histogram goes from red to green. We then get a temporary shift back to red, telling us that momentum may be slowing or shifting back to the downside. We see that occurred over the course of a few trading days before shifting back to green, where we get the buy signal again and the uptrend resumes. Okay, and we get on that nice steady uptrend until we get another sell signal. As momentum shifts back to the downside, we get a sell-off over the course of a few days before we get a shift back to green in the histogram and a resumption of the uptrend. So take a look at the incredibly accurate timing of the MACD histogram relative to the momentum in this stock. So it does a really nice job at letting us know where momentum is likely headed in the near future. And another little trick that I'll use that I'll give you guys in combination with the MACD is to use an added layer of confirmation to our trades, and we use that with a specific type of order. So most traders will enter with a limit order or a market order after seeing a signal in their trading system, but I actually use buy stop and sell stop orders. So when I get a signal, if it's a long signal, I'll use a buy stop order to confirm that the momentum follows through with the signal. Or conversely, if it's a sell signal, I will use a sell stop order to enter a short trade to confirm the momentum direction. And this really does a nice job at helping filter out false signals and improving consistency. So that's just another little trick I'll give you guys. So here's the cool thing. The MACD, as you've seen, does a really nice job at predicting market shifts. But when you formulate the right combination of momentum indicators, because each has its own strengths and weaknesses, and if we can pull out all the strengths of some of the more popular momentum indicators, combine them with volatility studies and price action setups, we can actually do a lot better than the MACD by itself. So that's pretty exciting, right? Because the MACD can be pretty accurate on its own, but if we can do better, how great would that be? So I'm going to show you what I've created, and this is called TRADETREND, and it's basically a combination of momentum indicators that I've developed into an algorithm that actually pinpoints shifts in market momentum and trends earlier than the MACD does by itself. And that's what you see here on this chart. And I apologize, it's a little small, but this is basically just another daily chart of the S&P 500. Oops, sorry, go back to that. And basically the green diamonds that you see are telling us that there's a potential shift looming. And when we see those diamonds, we're given an exact entry price. And if you see the green arrow that follows it, that is the trade that is actually triggered. So the momentum is followed through using that buy stop order that I just mentioned to you guys. And we see the nice uptrend. And then conversely, the red diamond is a potential market sell-off. And it tells us exactly where to place our sell stop order. And the red arrow signifies that the trade was triggered. And then it's very small and probably very difficult to see on your screen, but if you see that little black box, that's the exit. That's where the trade is exited. Okay, so we can see there are lots of incredibly accurate signals on this chart. So these are all of the market sell-offs, and you can see that we talked about in 2018. You can see how accurate the trade trend algorithm was at predicting these near the tops of these sell-offs. But it wasn't just these. We had all these buy signals as well as some other sell signals near tops and bottoms of shifts in the momentum and trends in this market. So this works for options too. We have a lot of customers and members to our trade trend group that use this to trade options. And a lot of them will come in trading very complex option strategies, multi-leg strategies like calendar spreads, iron condors, ratio spreads, credit spreads. And a lot of our members will simplify their strategies and just go to straight call and put purchases. And so I want to give you kind of an example of what that looks like. On this last sell-off that we saw in December of 2018 on the right side of the chart, if you had simply bought 10 at-the-money put contracts during the sell-off when we got the red diamond, this would have resulted in nearly a $10,000 profit on this one trade alone on 10 put contracts. So for you options traders out there, this is a great tool to help time your options trades, regardless of what strategy you use. But again, we have a lot of members who simply buy calls and puts off of these signals. So again, I keep things pretty simple in my trading. I do trade options and stocks and Forex, and I also do a lot of futures trading. So again, these are live results using the trade trend signals in my personal brokerage account in the futures market. So these are, no day trading here. These are just single contract trades off of the daily chart using the trade trend signals with over $13,000 profit in a single day on about 10 open positions. Another day of over $3,600 in profits. You can see they're not all winners, right? We do have some losers in there, and that's to be expected with any strategy. But TradeTrend does an incredible job at containing losing trades, as you can see in my live account screenshots here, and then letting the profitable trades run so we keep the most profit in those trades. Over $4,000 in a single day using this software. And I'll show you guys how you can get your hands on this here in just a minute. So my promise to you is I want to help you have days just like these, and I'm going to coach you exactly how I do it, okay? So I don't use hypothetical results. I show you guys live results from my personal trading account. Again, I trade for a living, and that's what I focus on with all of our members to achieve the best results that they can in their own personal trading. So I'm going to offer a one-time opportunity to join me to discover how I make consistent profits in the markets day after day, week after week. And that's in our Trade Trend Mastermind group. So I'll tell you in just a minute how you can join our mastermind group and learn all of my momentum strategies with options, stocks, Forex, and futures. So I reveal every one of my special techniques and indicators that make profits like this possible, and I don't hold anything back. So I teach you guys all the nuts and bolts of how I achieve daily profits like I just showed you in my live account. So here's everything you get with our Trade Trend Mastermind group. You get live trade sessions, you get one-on-one coaching from me, not from one of our other coaches or employees. You actually get the coaching from myself in a live format. You also get exclusive invitation-only Facebook group access. If you're a Facebook user, you can join our Facebook group. You get trade adjustments to fix losing trades. So we all have losing trades, right? So what I'm going to teach you guys is when we get those in those situations, how we can use adjustment techniques to fix losing trades, whether that's options, Forex, or futures. You get signals for stocks, futures, and the Forex market. So again, it works in all markets. And it also works in all time frames, and you get a list of my most profitable tickers to trade as well. So let me show you just a quick comparison of what MACD traders were able to do on this daily chart of the SPY. So this particular chart, I don't have the indicator plotted, but the MACD picked up a shifted momentum here where you see I have the arrow on the chart, and it still gave us some good warning that the uptrend was resuming after that sell-off that you see just to the left of the signal. Okay, so I'm going to put this in dollar terms for you options traders out there. If you were a part of our trade trend group, our trade trend signal actually picked this shift in momentum up an entire week before the MACD signal. Okay, and then we were instructed to get out by the indicator right here where you see the red circle. So let's put that in dollar terms for some options. For an options example. So if you had bought 10 at the money call contracts on this signal for the MACD, that would have resulted in a $335 profit before commissions and fees. But our trade trend members had the opportunity to make nearly $5,000 in profit by getting in about a week earlier on this move. Okay, so that's the significant difference between the combination of momentum indicators programmed in a trade trend and the MACD signal. And the cool thing is, this is an adaptable algorithm that we programmed into trade trend. So it adapts to market conditions. And that's important because if you have an indicator that doesn't adapt to market conditions, it will eventually stop working. So trade trend continues to work because it adjusts to current market conditions. And that's really important. So again, it works in all markets, all time frames, and it works with any size account. So if you've got a small account, we have members that use Trade Trend to trade small accounts, and we also have members all the way up to institutional traders who use the signals to trade very large accounts. So this is kind of what the software looks like. Another chart that is a daily chart of the TNA, which is a leveraged ETF. And I'm just going to show you some examples of these trades and put them in dollar terms for you if you're just trading the ETF, 1,000 shares. And you can see that the buy signals are portrayed by the green diamond, and then followed up by the green arrow for confirmation. And the short signals are the red diamond followed up by the red arrow. Okay, so some really nice trades in here. You can see the accuracy of the indicator, and over the course of just these 6 trades on 1,000 shares before commissions and fees, profit of nearly $40,000. So pretty incredible, right? Just on 6 trades. Now I mentioned it also works for intraday time frames. We do have many members who use it to day trade. So this is the same ticker, TNA, but this time on the hourly chart, just to give you a feel for what the signals look like on an intraday time frame. Okay, so very accurate in predicting market momentum shifts and trends. Okay, so what I want to help you guys do is cut the learning curve and help you trade like a pro starting as early tomorrow by giving you access to my trade trend signals. Okay, and what you get with the signals are also live trade sessions. So these are sessions that I hold in a live online format where we go through trade examples and look for signals together. And we do these 3 to 4 times a month. So our next one is actually this Thursday, September 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope you guys can join me for that session. And if you do decide to join us today, here's everything that you're going to get. You're going to get the trade trend signal package. This allows you to get in before the MACD signal. And we do offer our signal package on multiple platforms. We offer it on NinjaTrader, TradeStation, Metastock, among others. So you get an entire 2 complimentary months of the signals. You get a proprietary blend of momentum indicators that produces nearly instant profits that help you predict short-term and long-term trends with astounding accuracy. It works with stocks, it works with futures, it works with Forex, and you can also screen for trades in seconds. It works on any time frame. You can also backtest to see the results before you place a trade. And for you options traders out there, it allows you to supercharge your options strategy. It's a great tool for trading options. And it allows you to trade like a pro without any guesswork involved. So you can skip the decades plus of trial and error that many retail traders go through and fast forward to get to accurate signals that can produce consistent results. So this is just basically a screenshot of what the signals look like in the platform. So I just highlighted one trade out of here randomly on Micron. And then you also, go back to that. You see on the left side of the screen, you also get the instructions that tell you what type of order to use, where to place your order, at what price, where to place your trailing stop. So it gives you everything you need to trade successfully. No guesswork, you get the exits and everything. So this is also on Micron. I highlighted this particular period of time because this is at the end of December of 2018, or sorry, at the end of 2018 that encompasses October through December. And this particular period I use because this is during those last 2 market corrections. It was a really volatile time in the market. These were 5 consecutive trades that TradeTrend identified on Micron. So if you're trading the stock, there was a profit of over $13,000 on these 5 trades. We had one little loser in there. And if you trade options, just buying straight calls and puts on these signals, you could have put up a lot less capital and profited nearly $7,000 on these 5 trades on Micron at the end of 2018. So pretty cool. All right, so here's everything you get with our Trade Trend Mastermind group. Again, you get the live trade sessions. We typically hold 3 to 4 per month. That's a $550 value. You get one-on-one coaching from me. That's a $1,997 value. Again, guys, this is all lifetime. This doesn't go away. You get exclusive invitation-only Facebook group access. That's a $199 value. I'm going to teach you to learn. I'm going to teach you to make trade adjustments to fix losing trades. Regardless of what market you're trading. That's a $900 value. You'll learn to trade stocks, futures, Forex, and options with consistency. We cover all the markets and we look at various strategies in those markets. Sorry, that should say 2 months. We're doing 2 months of complimentary trade signals. For TradeTrend, that's a $450 value. And this is all for a one-time membership fee, not a recurring membership fee. So you get lifetime private access to all of these things. And that's a value of over $4,000, but we're not going to ask anywhere near that. And again, you can join us for our very first live trade session this Thursday, September 12th, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm also going to throw in an extra bonus that I'll tell you about in a second. And you can get all of this for just $997 today. So our first 20 subscribers who join us today will also get a gift valued at $700, and that's our Professional Trading Series 13-module online trading course. So if you go to tradetrend.com/expo, you can join us, and it looks like Teddy just put the link in the chat box for you as well. And so our first 20 subscribers today will get that Professional Trading Series online course. It's over 9 hours of content that covers stocks, options, futures, and Forex, and also covers trade adjustments. So here's my guarantee. I'm going to throw in a guarantee as well. If you don't make money in the first 90 days of using our Trade Trend Mastermind group coaching and signals, I'm going to give you another 90 days of signals at no cost. Plus, I'm going to give you double your money back in store credit, so you can use it towards any of our alert services, online courses, coaching, whatever you need to be successful. I'm here to make sure that that happens. So that's my guarantee. for joining our Trade Trend Mastermind group today. So here's a quick blurb, as we're almost out of time, about what some of our members are saying about Trade Trend. Jay Thomas has very impressive results. Well done. Thanks for helping us little guys with small accounts who dream of growing our accounts over time and reaping the benefits of consistent monthly income. Frank says, how refreshing to have someone produce a product that does what it says. I thought it was too good to be true, but you have proven me wrong. And Chris says, first of all, I want to thank you for providing such a first-class alert service. It's really the only one that delivers on promise, and I've tried a few. After having demo traded for nearly 2 months, I'm now happy to go live. Alan says, I've been involved with lots of software testing. Trade Trend seems to do exactly as it says, and so far I can find some nice setups. And lastly, Craig says, my first trade paid for the entire package. Nothing ever works for me this fast. I wish I had found you guys last year before the big market dips. All right, just a few more screenshots of my live trading results. Obviously, one winning trade could easily pay for your lifetime membership to my Trade Trend Mastermind group, but being prepared for the next market correction truly is priceless. So please go to tradetrend.com/expo if you'd like to join us today. I'll end with one of my favorite quotes by Mark Twain: the secret to getting ahead is getting started. So please get started today, join us, and I look forward to working with everybody. I don't know if we have any time for Q&A. I'll leave that up to Teddy, but if not, you can email us at support@thetradingprofit.com or fill out our contact form at tradetrend.com, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Again, go to tradetrend.com/expo to join us today. So I'm going to skip over these last parts, but here again is everything that you get with our Trade Trend Mastermind group, and normally it's over a $4,000 value. And I'm giving you guys an opportunity today to join for life, no recurring membership fees at $9.97. And then I'm also throwing in 2 free months of Trade Trend on the house. And so I hope that you guys are able to join us today. Look forward to it. And I look forward to having you on our first live session this Thursday, September 12th, 7 p.m. Eastern. And by the way, those are all recorded. So if you're not able to join any of our live sessions, you get full access to our members area where we post all of our previous sessions as well, and you can watch those at your convenience. All right, guys, thanks so much. I will pass it back over to Teddy.